Good morning, everybody. It's Dan back in the Gnarlychicken garage. It's been a while. I've been pretty busy at work the last few months, so I haven't been out here much doing anything. So I'm back, and things we're doing here right now in the shop, which is sort of turned from dirt bike season to snowmobile season, even though it's 14 degrees Celsius at 5:30 this morning out in the shop. I forgot to set my clock back a few weeks ago, but it is 5:30. So this 1997 Yamaha Venture 500 Twin Liquid. A buddy of mine bought this last year, first time snowmobiling, wanted to get into the sport. This has been sitting in a field for a couple years, if not longer. Took a while to get it started, but we did end up getting it going, and he bought it. So I agreed to bring it in the shop and go over a few things with him and get it ready for him. So one of the things, just going to grab a light here, one of the things that right off the bat was, of course, taking the carbs off, and they were full of gunk, mostly insulation and foam from the cab that was inside the intake. I don't even know how this started. There was a mouse nest down underneath the muffler here that would have filled up 2 shoe boxes for sure. The battery was toast, so we got a new battery coming. We've got a bunch of airbox components coming. I will go over the carbs when everything else is the clutches when everything else is done. We got a new hand warmer coming because this one was tried several times, it looks like, to be salvaged, and whoever did it roasted the grips on it with the rivet spots. So new grip coming and heater. It's got rear heaters as well. I was able to fabricate some new foam for the hood. This was chewed out as well from mice, so this intake foam here allows heat to escape while preventing snow from getting in. Skis. I was going to get new skis, but they're back ordered and there's no timeline on them, so we're going to salvage these skis, and I've got new runners coming for them, so he'll be all right there. And the only other thing is the suspension. I was going to take the whole slide out, or the skid, sorry, and go over it, but these back bearings and wheels are still good, believe it or not. The 4 front wheels were completely roasted, as well the bearings inside, and got 4 new bearings for them on the bench and 2 new wheels coming, so we'll slap those on. Hopefully all these parts will be in today, but we'll see. And the slides were worn out. Now the slides, as a lot of you probably know, sit on the bottom of the skid, and they prevent the clips of the track from wearing up into the skid rails, and they wear quickly. And these are the slides I took out. And for those of you that are new to snowmobiling, you can see when the slide is new how thick they are, and then they wear down as time goes on. Some places get worn more quickly than others depending on where the wheels are and where the most pressure is. And as you can see, they're worn down. If they do wear down too much, they will chew a hole through the bottom, and then your rear suspension is basically moving on the bottom of the rails, which is not a good thing to have happen. You can see where it starts to wear down here, and the other one has a spot that it's already worn right through, which is right here. So that was ready to give up the ghost soon. So very important item to watch and keep an eye on while your season goes, because they do wear down quickly, and for $35 they're a cheap and easy fix to prevent a lot of damage and a lot of money. One of the rails has a stopper missing on the other side, so I've got one of those ordered, and this whole suspension probably looks worse than it actually is from sitting in a field, but I will clean that up and grease all of the components on the suspension. So once I'm done all that, which should take an hour or two, I'll go at the clutches and take the primary and the secondary off and go over the buttons and see how the ramps are wearing on the helix and check the springs, just give them a real good cleaning. And the same with the primary, take the front plate off and go over the rollers and the ramps in there, or the weights, and give that a good cleaning, and then clean down the sheaths on the clutches. Yamaha clutches are pretty much a bulletproof clutch, so with a little bit of maintenance every year, they will last a long time, and they are not hard on belts. I can attest for that. I've got the same clutch in my 09 Nitro for the last 9 years, and I've only blown one belt. I've actually blown two. One was my fault, and the other one was, well, they're both kind of my fault, but in 9 years, I've only had to replace belts on this twice. So that's pretty good considering this thing's got a massive amount of torque. It's a 1050 triple, 1049 cc triple, and yeah. So that's on the agenda next. Once I'm done this guy, I'll bring this over and go through my yearly maintenance on this, which involves, an oil change, which I've got the oil and the filter and everything ready to go, and go over the clutches on those, and then I'll take the skid out completely, put it on the bench, and I change the bearings in these every year, just because I, number one, enjoy doing it, and it's peace of mind, because these bearings and these wheels, they go through a lot of stress with water and ice throughout the year. Oh, and there's my wife. Good morning. And that'll be about it. Be able to get that going fairly soon. So that's on the agenda next. So we will keep you in touch and get back to you. Okay. Started working on some bearings. Got 4 new NTN 6004 bearings, about the best bearing that you can get right there, NTNs. 6004, so I got one bearing in, very easy install. I'm just going to do the other one. Cleaned out the inner surface as best I could, which is pretty decent. Now what I'm going to do is, I've already looked inside these bearings are well oiled or greased already. I'm not going to put any more grease in them. Like I said, these are about the best bearings that you're going to find for your buck. Just set that in place and start tapping it lightly around the sides. So it's seated flush with the shoulder. Still moves well. And then I take this is a 30 mil socket, and it sits just nicely on the outer races, but still has enough room to not get bound up in the wheel itself. Those are the other junk wheels. And just set that up nicely and start tapping that down. I just felt it basically seat there. Good movement, and you want to get it down low enough so you can hear it bottom out, and there's enough room for the circlip to go in there around the little groove, retaining circlip. That should do it. You can tell when these are driven home because you can hear the difference in the pitch of the sound. So I'll take one of these C-clips and keep your finger over that when you're pressing them down on these, because these will spring up and out of the way, and that is in place and seated nicely and good movement. So that's 2 bearings. Like, that's a 5-minute job. That's how easy the bearings are to put on, especially when you get the wheels off on anything really. But NTN bearings, super quality bearing. Highly recommend them. Anyone local that needs them, we can certainly source them for you instantly if you need any bearings. So these are the old ones. Don't know what kind they are. I couldn't tell the names on them, but they were just cheap knockoff bearings. Yeah, but they were roasted. So just to give you an idea just how roasted these are, let me show you. Let me show you what happens to bearings over time if you've never seen them before, what they do. I'm just going to grab this in here. You don't have to be super careful now because these bearings are roast, but that's what you're looking at. I mean, there's nothing left in there except for crud and rust and like nasty old oil. I mean, these may have lasted the year, but there's certainly no help in those rollers from any grease that's still in there. So that's it for now. Hopefully, like I said, today I will have more parts in. And 2 wheels done. 2 new wheels coming. New bearings. Moving along. Hello again. We're back at the Sled, the 97 VMAX, or Venture. I keep wanting to call them the VMAX, even though it pretty much is. So today I got started on the clutches, cleaned up the belt guard back and front. This had black caked on like I've never seen before, just like you can see down here. That is just years of neglect. Belt dust mixed with oil and gas and whatever else was leaking out of there. So I scrubbed the sheaves down with fine sandpaper and emery cloth and took the belt off, did all the sheaves, blasted the primary and the secondary. Everything looks good. So I'm going to just put the clip back in here and got the emergency brake on. The track is loose, so I'm going to see if we can give her a little start. Give it a couple shots of fuel first without the choke. See what that does. And we'll give her a half choke. That's good. That was half a choke and I think 1 pull on half choke. So that's good. It's been sitting for a couple weeks. So it's oiling nice, idling good, and we're getting there. So we're just waiting for a few more simple parts and we'll get her back together.